Logan, thank you so much for joining us today. I know you're like super busy. We won't take too much of your time, just an hour, but we've got so much to cover. I don't even know where to start. So I figured the first place I'd like to start is like how this all began. Like I know you won your first show. I think it was like 16, 17.
Yeah, I think I was a week off my 18th birthday. I did my first show, 6 months out of school.
6 months out of school, first show. And it was overseas too, wasn't it?
No.
First one local?
The first one was here. So I did three. I won Teenage Mr. Australia the first year.
Jeez.
There was a teenage division back then. And then the following years I did juniors, which at the time was only 21 and under. So I did that for another couple of years. Won Mr. Australia through that 3 years in a row, or Junior Mr. Australia. Then went over to Scotland and Germany for the Junior World titles, Junior NABBA World titles. I got second in the Junior World titles for NABBA in Scotland.
Yeah.
And I won a week later in Germany.
And didn't they push you up to the mains as well, the adults?
Yeah, I won the juniors by such a big margin, and apparently it was the first time that it had happened. So they put me into the 21 to 30-year-olds super body division as well.
Jeez.
I got second in that, yeah.
So straight off the bat, they put you up to the adults. You had to hold your own, and they got a second in that. And I have to ask, I'm going to do some math. Between that and winning your pro card, how many years was that?
What was that, though?
That was crazy,
To 2019.
So you won...
So 2003 was the overseas shows.
So you... Wow.
2019 was winning the pro card over in Vegas.
Gee, so you're talking about 3 months, 16 years.
I'll let you do the maths, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That long and in the industry. So you obviously started off there. You were working as a tradie before you got into PT, construction?
Pretty much. I'd started, as soon as I left school, though, I was working in the gym as well. So I used to do 3 days in the gym behind the desk and then and a little bit of PT and 3 days on the construction side as well. It was my dad's company, so I could work between the both.
And you'd say your work ethic developed from there?
Yeah, like it probably started earlier than that, like just being in sports my whole life, sprinting, all the athletics and soccer from a young age, and just watching my dad work his ass off, to be honest. Like,
you just set the right example.
Yeah. He was just worked a lot, but he was always there for us. He was a builder and architect as well, so he'd be running the jobs during the day, and then he'd still be doing designs, house designs and stuff like that at night, but then still obviously raising 3 kids with my mum as well. So I saw all that firsthand first. I think that's what created a bit of discipline or pushing yourself
to get what you need.
And with the sports as well. And then all that translated into the next level, into bodybuilding.
So you'd pretty much argue that the skills that you learned there from a young age, I'd say, like working at the gym, doing a double job, trying to get meet ahead and up.
I worked every Saturday, all overtime from I was 14, 15, got a job straight away after school. And you still fit in all my training for my sports. I just never stopped.
Never stopped. And you were working towards buying your first home.
Rode my bike everywhere. Like there was
so you're constantly moving. So
constantly moving.
How did you put on size? Being a tradie, riding your bike, no stopping. How do you manage to put on size? Because that's non-stop consecutively.
It was, yeah. It helped me stay leaner. I could eat pretty much whatever I wanted at that age. What happened? I think I hit puberty at the right time. So I had started weights, I think, like year 11 in high school. And then year 11 to year 12 school holidays, I went to the gym 6-7 weeks straight of those school holidays every day, drinking protein revivals by the pool after. Post-workout meal was Hungry Jacks every day.
Wow.
But it got the calories in with all the movement I did. And it was like I had my first cycle at the same time. I just hit puberty. I think I used creatine for the first time. And in 6-7 weeks, I exploded like 9-10 kilos. That's
insane.
That's not exaggeration either. It was just the perfect storm. Even the first week of year 12 was school camp. I went to school camp and a couple of teachers got together and pulled me aside and quizzed me on being enhanced and stuff like that. Steroids, because it was that dramatic.
Dramatic, we're like, nah, this kid's...
And the 2 mates did the same thing, and they got some gains, but I just exploded overnight.
So if you had to take a guess, what would you attribute your gains for? Just luck, puberty, genetics, or would you say like coming down to the slight edge with work ethic?
Work ethic, like we trained hard from the get-go, obviously, and I trained legs from the start because I'd come from an athletics background. So, a lot of people get let down because they start their training journey and they don't do legs properly from the start. It's better these days, but especially 20 years ago, often you'd have to get athletes and that when I was coaching to have to catch up on their legs and things like that, because when people first go into the gym back then, it would just be chest, biceps, abs, what they could see in front, and they'd neglect all of the legs, neglect the back, and what's generally the hardest to grow or the biggest muscles and take the longest.
It's the legs
And back.
I literally had that problem.
Yeah.
I used the gym for my athletics, for my swimming and martial arts, and then I'd go to the gym mostly, and I end up working upper body because my legs were big from martial arts and swimming. My back was big from swimming.
Yeah.
So I just focused on those disciplines. But then after my surgery, when I went to the gym to try and rebuild the mass, my upper body responded so well to the stimulus of weights. My legs didn't.
Yeah.
My legs just took forever to grow. You remember, there was the one thing that just we struggled to get size on, always look good condition and shape.
Also super lean. Yeah.
But just to put the size on them. So I attribute the fact that I didn't have the discipline or the mindset back then to actually focus on the legs from a structural perspective. It was always function, which was great. But from a bodybuilding thing, I think that let me down quite a bit into my older years, always playing catch up with my legs. I just got to a point where this is as big as they're probably going to get now. So we do what we can. Now, your legs have always been a big feature for you. Do you do anything different from training? Is there something different that other people aren't doing that you incorporate?
I think it's obviously training them properly, as properly as I knew how to back then.
Yep.
From the get-go. So, I've never let them lag behind. I've done them once, if not twice a week for 20-odd years. So for me, I for some reason, I split up hammies and quads from an early age, and have done that right through my career. And I just think that's helped along a lot too.
Yeah.
Another big thing you see is people predominantly smashing quads and neglecting glutes and hamstrings.
Yeah, I agree.
Or they tack on one hamstring exercise at the end of quads, and they're like, well, I was using them on the leg press and my squats, and you're not.
Near as much.
It's even very hard to set up a biased hammy leg press,
Yes.
And they're still probably going to use their quads.
Especially if you're weak in the hammies, you're just going to activate your quads more.
Yeah.
And you were sharing with me before, now that as you've progressed, now being at a mature age, you've hit like a wall with your legs. If you push them, they just get too tight.
Yeah.
So obviously you don't have the same sort of freedom and flexibility with the recovery when you were younger. So tell us a little bit about that. So how do you cope with that, and what's your strategy to just keep training legs at that intensity?
Is obviously, we're more aware of the recovery aspect now. So I can't go more than 3 weeks without a treatment on my legs, or I start losing performance. So they just get tighter and tighter and tighter. Obviously, there's lots of ways to improve that. For myself, I keep up with my my treatment. So dry needling works very well for me, having thicker muscle. Obviously, massage only goes so far because the bigger your muscle, the less they're going to push through. So if you've got issues or tight muscle deep down, then I find like the dry needling makes a really big difference.
So you're pretty much saying that you get your treatment in order for performance.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
I wouldn't be able to perform.
You wouldn't, and really that doesn't mean the pain dissipates. That just means you want to do more, even if the pain stays the same.
Yeah.
So again, that would be another mental attitude towards what is attributed to your growth. It's like you're not chasing the pain-free, you're chasing the structural, but something that keeps you healthy.
Yeah.
I think like a lot of people, they see the titles and the trophies and everything you've won, but not many people really understand what it takes mentally to be a pro and keep performing at that level. Can you share with me, what does a pro mindset look like?
I think it's just keeping that consistency in all aspects across the board. So many people can focus on one or two aspects, whether that's, we can all train hard, let's be honest, within reason. We'll train smartly is another thing. But to keep up with all your treatments that work for your body and the mobility, especially as you get gain size, that lets a lot of people down as well.
Yeah.
A big thing that's come from in the past, and I wish, obviously we can't go back in time and things like that, but I wish I had the knowledge, more of the knowledge that's out there these days. the cool thing these days, if you follow the right people or have the right coach, you can be doing the right stuff from 16 years old, you know. And I think that's why we're seeing better 21, 23-year-olds right across the board, and in every sport,
Yes.
because of the knowledge we have out there now.
And
if you watch and take it from the right people.
Well, because the availability that we have with social media and stuff,
Yeah.
there's so much more information. I actually had this discussion yesterday with one of the boys, and I was saying, man, being my age, I like to say I had it tougher. You know, like we had it tougher in the great old days. But realistically, if we would train, go do a show, and if we were going to be recognized, we'd hope somebody at the show would recognize us or put our story in the paper, or we had to generate that feedback. Where now you can just create exposure through documenting your prep, and people, you have automatic followers. So I think on the flip side, there's a lot of bad information out there. And like you said, following the right people. But I find many kids nowadays, when they go into, so I'm sure you've heard across the board, many people come and say, I want to be a pro one day. And I understand the ambition, but I don't think they realize the mindset that it takes. And one example I want to use is your last show last year at your pro debut at Masters. You pretty much went on stage with an injury that not many people would even fathom going on stage, let alone train with. So tell us about that, because I saw you get on stage and I thought you were having a quad cramp, but it wasn't a quad cramp.
Yeah, most of the people just thought I was walking on stage with some severe cramps.
Yeah.
Which I didn't like, because then it's an aspect of you're doing the wrong things or you're too dehydrated. Which I actually found that quite negative. But what I'd done is, believe it or not, and in my 25 years, I haven't heard this happening to anybody on the day where they've torn a muscle on the day of the show. So I'd been up for a whole 15 minutes, was with my coach at the time, Dean McKillop, and we were just having a quick condition check in the morning, and I flexed one calf in the mirror and then proceeded to flex the left one, and it tore straight up the middle of my calf.
Just like that.
The noise and everything,
The twang.
Yeah, the twang.
It
went like bang, 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 up my calf. And Dean was like, what was that? And he thought that I'd like sort of, just scrape my foot along the tiles or the floor. I think it was timber, and made that squeaky noise, but that was my calf tearing.
Fuck.
So the immediate thoughts were, oh shit, we're in trouble here.
Because then you got swelling.
Yeah, I think my phone was in my hand. I think that went flying across the room.
Yeah, I'm
So
sure.
it was all of about a 30-second tantrum, or just a fuck. What do we do from here?
And this is
Excuse my language.
show.
This is data. So this is like 7 in the morning. I'm on stage at 11 or 12. So I'm supposed to be going to 10 in an hour. Still got to get my breakfast in. Dean, being the master, the calming man that he is, he's like, and rational, talk through it. What are we going to do? So nothing was open yet, because it was early in the morning and it's Europe, so nothing opens too early. So the best we could find down at a little convenience store was a pack of peas, frozen peas. So we put that on the calf to try and obviously alleviate some of the swelling. And then had breakfast and
just try to stay focused.
Just tried to stay focused on the rest of the day, yeah. And obviously it just got worse and worse and more painful by the hour, and tightened up more and more to the point where I nearly couldn't even walk.
Well,
I got there and the tanning girls were freaking out and asking me if I needed a wheelchair and all this sort of stuff.
Wow, and you still.
And meanwhile, we're like 3 hours out by this point.
What were you going through on stage? What was your mind doing?
You block it out. Adrenaline takes over. You've got a job to do, and you just do it. There's not 1 second I would ever pull out of something like that.
See, that's the part that impresses me.
Not 1 second.
No, you can't. This amount of
people. You don't come that far and
just
pull out the biggest show of your life.
But you got a torn calf. There's people that have pulled out of shows just because they're afraid they're not going to win.
Yeah.
So, what's the mindset involved in that? Why get on
that's
stage?
Something that just comes natural for me. I finish what I start, no matter what it is. If I set that goal, then it's going to be short of being in hospital or something that I'm not going to go through with what I set out to.
Not finishing is worse than losing.
Yeah, absolutely.
You never know. Yeah, because there's less lessons. Yeah. There's less lessons in that, of course.
And it's all data. It's all data for the future. The lesson in finishing what you start, And I see even these days in comps and things like that, there's so many people that, they'll do their first show and they'll do the Queensland titles and they have a great time still, but they don't place as well as they think they're going to, or don't quite look the way they should. And it's the end of the world and nationals might be in 3 weeks. And instead of going on with it,
they just give
and
up.
collecting data and pushing yourself more, they just give up. It's one thing if you're totally undersized and you need to get the off season started, so be it.
Yeah.
But also, though, what you can learn and the way you can push yourself in those 3 weeks, if there's things to improve in that time frame, it just blows my mind that people just take the negative aspect and just pull the pin.
I've got a very similar attitude. When COVID hit in 2020, we were due to go down to Melbourne, and the day before our flight, obviously everything got shut down. But I still proceeded to, with your encouragement, finish my prep for that week. And instead of getting on show, we did the photo shoot. And a lot of people said, well, why are you doing that? You can just go eat. You want to eat, you can. But there was that part of me that just felt like, yeah, I get it, but my body's not at its peak for the rebound yet. It will be in a week.
Yeah.
And all I had to do was wait 7 days as opposed to go another 20, 50 weeks of the same shit. So I went ahead and finished it, and I did. The sting of not competing wasn't near as bad because I knew no matter what, I finished what I started. So I think that goes a long way.
And that was an interesting one because I had from memory, a good 12, 13 people doing that show. That's and only 4 went through with it.
That's right.
There was a bit of fear of getting stuck in Melbourne and things like that, which that's fair enough. But yeah, the others are like, no, I've got to finish what I started. If they're going to put on a show, I'm going to be in it.
Well, I was one of those. Like, I wasn't prepared for financial reasons, to take a further risk because we lost the budget from the first trip. So when we were trying to organize where the second one was going to be and having to rebook and redo, and then the time, it was too stressful.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I felt like it wasn't risen enough for me to just pull the pin.
Yeah, you pivoted. And still did
stayed home,
worthwhile.
But I still kept going through it. Yeah. And I did feel the motivation then to keep going after that. Yeah. I think that was a big thing for, like, during COVID, my motivation to train and to keep improving consistently existed. So has your mindset of what it takes to be a champion differed from now having the experience at IFBB Pro versus when you were younger?
Oh, when I was younger, I thought it was all, be hardcore. More is better in many aspects. Train longer, train harder, don't rest. Recovery wasn't really talked about because you just thought more was better in everything.
Yeah.
More food, more supplements, more training, more everything, because that's what got you there. And I think even, some of the early stuff we watched was Arnold and things like that and pumping iron, and sometimes they were twice a day, 3 hours a day. That they lay on the beach in between. But that's not even what was happening. They all had jobs and stuff. They were bricklayers and things like that as well. So that's just what they portrayed. But they were training for 4, 5, 6 hours a day sometimes. And I think, we didn't really learn from that, and that's why we pushed ourselves so much. When now, and what I teach my athletes is the biggest aspects of recovery and resting at the right times, active recovery, sleep is huge. Where we would do cardio rather than sleep to try and get ahead, which so many of those things were actually detrimental to getting the results we wanted.
Yeah, see, this is one thing I've always been a big fan of yours, is that it's not only just the science behind what you do, but it's also the self-awareness of what your body goes through. So it's not just like hardcore training, beat it till you're dead. It's also now incorporating technique and a lot of other modalities to get the results you want from a long, hopefully a long career.
Yeah.
But one thing that and again, why I've always chose you, and I've had lots of coaches that have been fantastic, but with my condition, you always prioritize health over look. And how important is that in the actual process?
Well, that's what keeps us going in the long run, like you said. I've been in this industry for a long time. How many people have we seen come and go? The next big thing, the next this, and I'm all in. They last 3 years sometimes.
Not even long.
Their bodies are already broken down because they either train too much or stupidly, again, because it's that more is better aspect, whether it's in the gym or with drugs and things like that. So the health perspective is what keeps us going. Doing your blood work, doing your recovery work, getting enough sleep, utilizing all that to keep you going as optimal as possible.
Because not only you damage your body, but you actually damage your brain, the way you think, the demotivated. Every time you hit an injury, you get depressed, you get aggressive. That's part of the challenge too.
And we're talking about just on a muscle perspective, like let alone the mind,
exactly.
The central nervous system, mitochondria, all that sort of stuff. Like all that needs refueling, rebooting, recovering.
Exactly. So it's too much stress of that can obviously impact the way you feel and think. And obviously, like many guys will chase numbers and volume, and you chase now also performance and connection while you are training. So can you explain how that benefits your hypertrophy phase in bodybuilding? If you're just chasing numbers and volume versus chasing the feel.
Well, I guess the old saying is quality over quantity. So it's quality reps, quality reps, quality sets, in all aspects. Like not just chasing numbers and I've got to beat what I did last week. And yeah, you may have beat it because your form got sloppy. What's the next thing after form getting sloppy? Possible injury.
Exactly.
Then what happens? Then you put back 6 to 8 weeks. So just everyone's got to slow down a bit. Stop rushing everything.
Well, one thing I know for myself personally is like I've always wanted to not just build my physique, but shape my physique. And working under you, I find that that's been a huge improvement. You have a really good eye about actually not just putting muscle mass on, but sculpting someone's physique. Like whatever inadequacies we have genetically, you tend to improve that. That would then go back to what you were saying about connection and performance. If you are activating the right muscle, regardless of the weight, you can change your shape better.
Yeah. And that goes back to, again, the early days of mistake we made is just, not training. Again, especially for the stage aspect, people aren't training for the stage, even though their journey is about the stage. So they're training what they enjoy the most, or they're training the big lifts because they like lifting heavy on those certain exercises. But that might not be what's required and helping them reach their goal. So often body parts that are more boring to train or they don't feel and they don't grow well, that's why.
That's
because you put in at the end of the session, you put in at the end of the week, where unfortunately those are the ones we need to prioritize. Train your body for the stage. So if you need more biceps, it's not biceps at the end of the week like we used to, because it's a small muscle. It's get them done first, get them done while you're fresh and strong and recovered.
And then going back to your methodology, which is if you're doing that exercise for your weak body part correctly, you're going to have more muscle engagement and a better understanding and more of a response to your growth.
That's it. Half the time it's because they're not doing quality reps and quality training.
I
don't feel this muscle because it's at the end of my session and I just rush in it and getting it done.
Or I hate doing shoulder press, so I'm just going to quickly do 3 sets of 10.
So I can move on to something I enjoy.
Yeah, so that would be the biggest
where that's the exercise that's going to cause that hypertrophy and growth and improvement.
So obviously there's a lot of education in training and body mechanics, recovery. What's one thing you wish people would understand more before they call themselves?
That's a good one.
Yeah, somebody, I'm a hardcore, but
I guess, again, hardcore doesn't mean smart, does it? So hardcore comes from thinking that you're doing everything to the extreme and too much of something, which generally now we see in our sport, or whether for the stage or just for general life. That's not smart, is it?
No, it's not.
So being hardcore most of the time is not smart.
And for me, hardcore now is now more or less doing what you have to do regardless whether you want to or not.
And doing it well.
Yeah. I had a guy once come to me for a PT leg session. He's like, oh, bro, it's only 45 minutes. I'm going to invite my mate. We usually train for 2.5 hours. And literally just had 2 sets on the hack squat and 1 set of extensions. And he tapped out. Purely because we slowed it right down, focused on the contraction and the squeeze. But yet he was hardcore. And he felt that my way of doing things was too pussy-like. He was like, no, but you sure that's too slow? That's not enough weight for me. But it was different. Have you ever encountered similar problems?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm hardcore because I threw up during my training session or I couldn't walk out of the gym for an hour. Some of that's all good in theory, but that's to the extreme, which is not set the given task. Like if you threw up half your pre-meal and got rid of your protein and whatever, then you've wasted that food. If you take a full week to recover from that session, then that's not optimal as well.
Exactly.
You can call it hardcore if you want, and it was probably a hard session, but is that optimal to what you're trying to achieve? Probably not.
Not so many people actually come with the mentality: if I'm suffering, I'm doing it right.
I can make someone throw up in 3 minutes.
Yeah, it's not much at all.
Like, can't we? You just go heavy weight and just go non-stop. You're gonna throw up eventually, or feel very, very sick with that lactic acid build-up. Does that mean it's hardcore? Well, it's hardcore for those 3 minutes, but
then after that, are you getting the results you need?
No.
It's like a waste of time and effort for nothing in return. It's maybe just a bit of an ego fix.
Yeah.
And so with new guys that come and jump on and want to work with you, what's one thing that you wish they would all understand that mainstream, or I wouldn't say mainstream media, but social media has given people a perception of what it takes to be successful at bodybuilding or figure sports? What's one thing that they should understand before they come in that they're not aware of?
I guess it's just the time frame and the consistency. Like, it takes time to build tissue no matter what. No matter if everything is optimal, you're still, 3 to 5 kilos a year is a great year of actual lean tissue. Obviously, things come a bit faster when you're originally getting into it, and then it slows down fairly quickly.
It does.
So you putting on, like, once you're experienced, 2 or 3 kilos a year is actually fantastic. And especially if you put it in the right places. You put it in those weaker muscle groups, and you're going to have a whole different physique just from 2 to 3 kilos.
Yes.
But then people see pros and see guys they look up to, and they think they can achieve that in a few years.
And they just think it's happened quickly and it's easy enough, and they feel like they're competitive enough to be on stage with a pro like that.
And things can happen a bit faster these days if you're ticking the boxes in all aspects, like we spoke about. But at the end of the day, I have fairly good genetics and a very good work ethic, and it took me, what did we say before?
Yeah, many years.
15 years to turn pro.
And you also, there was many times here that you competed and didn't get the result you were looking for, and then you finally got your pro card, which was long overdue in a lot of people's opinion, overseas, not even local, up against complete strangers, some of the best in the world at the Arnold's Amateur.
Amateur Olympia in Vegas at the Olympia.
Yeah. So how was that? Tell me a little bit about that, because for me, everybody wants the pro card, work in it, and credit to anyone who's ever won one. But having an Aussie go overseas and win it overseas with completely different judges, different athletes in Vegas, what was that like? Did it feel like a redemption, like a fuck yeah, finally?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Anyone that knows me knows that I don't take the easy roads. I always choose the hard roads. It's just purely, I find that more satisfying.
Yep.
Like, there's shows I could have picked and choose to try and do the nationals rather than for 3-4 years there I won the Arnold. Sorry, I did the Arnold Classic Australia, and I got second 3 times to the pro card winners. Had I just chosen the nationals, in that I was beaten by an international competitor each time. So had I just done the nationals, I probably could have won one of those shows a lot earlier and won my pro card. But I just enjoyed from there going against the best of the best and having as many people in the lineup as possible and doing the shows that I enjoyed and things like that. So
you could argue with that mentality, you learn more from losing than you do from winning.
Yeah.
And I guess
you're more ready when it does happen.
And maybe that's one thing that's also set you apart from most is their thirst for learning, whether you win or lose. Because I tell a lot of people that would have gone 3 shows and not get their pro card would have probably tapped out and found something else or become pro coaches at posing.
Yeah. Where I chose an even harder show to go and do halfway across the world.
Yeah.
And I won out of 32 competitors or something like that from around the world. And it was literally someone from every country, a national champion from every country. And that was one of the most satisfying shows I've done.
And that was when you also got married too.
Married the year before. Yeah.
So, and amalgamating that, because obviously now you've had so many things driving you to get to the point that you wanted, to get to the success that you've achieved both in your business and your personal life, as well as your competitive career. Your why would have evolved throughout the years. So what is it now that keeps you going at the pace that you still keep? Like, I mean, you haven't stopped. You keep going. Even now with your last show, you went overseas and competed, but yet you had countless athletes at home locally competing at the same time. And you always seem to prioritize your clients over yourself in the sense that you're very diligent with what you need done, but you never put people aside while you're achieving your goals. So that would obviously take a certain drive in order to maintain that sort of thing. What keeps you going today?
Yeah, it is very hard to do both and do the best of your ability with both because something has to give. But like you said, I always put the competitors in that first, even at the detriment of myself, albeit just a little bit. But could I have won some of those shows if I wasn't coaching 15 people the same day? Probably.
Yeah.
You know, eating my food when I'm supposed to instead of stressing over somebody else's condition and things like that.
Yeah.
But that's how I choose to do it. And fortunately or unfortunately, whichever way you look at it, my hobby, my sport, my career, my job is all in one collective unit.
Yeah.
So you can't just go and have time off work and get ready, or I'm going to not prep anybody this season because I'm going to focus on myself. I enjoy being busy and enjoy helping others, and that was the cool thing about the last show I did, the Masters Tokyo, Olympia. All the shows, I wouldn't do a show if it was the same weekend as obviously my clients and things like that. But I think we had a 5 or 6 week gap, so of me competing first then. So I thought it was cool, and I hope they found it cool too, and motivating and stuff. That I was always that 5-6 weeks ahead of them,
Yes.
and they were watching me firsthand in the gym or in their check-ins and feeding off me, pushing myself.
Because you setting that example.
And they can see where my condition is at a certain point firsthand, and they should have been really like feeding off that and using that for motivation and that stuff. And I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, look, absolutely. Like I've benefited from that. Like you've always been a really good example for me. Is like no matter what I'm going through in prep, my responsibilities can't be neglected. And I agree with what you're saying. Like obviously, it's a detriment to you if your attention and your stress and your mind is on your clients. But at the same time, I would argue that you've managed to reach your clients better than most coaches because you were present for them at the same time. And setting that example is actually, well, at least for me, is like my work doesn't slow down as much anymore. Like I'm able to maintain that consistency in order to get my bills paid, because we all know comp can be detrimental financially.
Yeah.
And then if you're taking time off work, it adds more stress, which then changes. So getting the mindset to do that and having the example of someone who's done that says, oh, that can be done. It's kind of like it goes back to that persuasion thing. You know, like with kids, they say if you want to get a kid to do something, show him another kid of that age doing it, because they start to relate and they go, oh, it can be done. I remember it was when I did Columbus and we were down there in America, and I won't name names, but there were 2 girls going for their pro card, both sponsored athletes, and one was downstairs at the expo meeting and greeting people, probably 5 hours before she had to be on stage, while the other one was resting. And I remember actually thinking to myself, like, pretty impressed how one was down there meeting people and doing it, because obviously you'd rather be up there with your legs up. But actually, this is what a real pro is. Because a lot of amateurs don't realize that even pro guys doing the Olympia are meeting their fans and stuff a couple of hours before the show.
They're non-stop all weekend long.
Yeah, so you didn't say like,
they've got meet and greet the night before their show, and some of them are on stage at 9 in the morning, and they're still there at 10 o'clock with big lines, signing stuff, smile on their face.
And that's what I think I would like you to share with us, because a lot of people that come say, I want to be a pro, but they think that they're going to be on their beds, feet up in the aircon.
Yeah, life was going to be easy, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what's required from a pro, never mind the stage time. Tell us about your schedule from when you arrive, like that weekend of comp.
Yeah, it doesn't stop. And I mean, it all depends. Often as a pro, you're competing in other countries around the world. Unfortunately, we don't have many shows or any shows at the moment in Australia to compete in as a pro athlete.
Yeah.
So often we have to travel, and half of those countries, you know, don't even speak English and things like that, or have very different grocery stores. So even just simple facts of finding the right food at the right times. And this is where the mindset and discipline comes into play. You don't sit there and go, oh, this will do, or I'll just skip this meal. Like, you continue professional and dedicated right through to the end, or what's the point? But I don't think people realize how hard international travel is, and being a pro with, especially a top-end pro, with all the extra requirements and sponsorship obligations and meeting fans. And man, you know, everyone's so quick to judge and so harsh online. Like, sometimes you watch what the poor Olympians cop from keyboard warriors, and you're like, you have no idea what they're going through.
Yes.
And like, people always like, oh, they're slightly off. And it's the Olympia, and most of them barely are slightly off. Not when you're there watching it firsthand. It's so different on the live streams and things like that. It's very different, and it's different athlete to athlete. You know, this is a funny one, and it's something to think about. But I often say, like, you know, a physique like a face, probably getting off on a tangent here, but is photogenic. Yes. So some physiques capture well from the camera, even different from a video or a live stream, and then totally different in person again. So you've got, often you can't tell condition as well. So someone who's less conditioned but big, they look better than the smaller guy. But it's not till you're up close that you see those details. So I just find it amazing, the big mouths and the arguments and the statements that people make who weren't even at shows and things like that.
Yeah. I've been guilty of making judgments based on what I've seen online.
One photo. Oh, third looks better than first. It's one photo with their arms up in the air.
And I went through the whole thing. I'd be like, oh yeah, maybe I was bad. Maybe they took the shot while he was transitioning, or he hasn't fully contracted. But until I watched my first pro shot up close and then compared it to the pictures I saw online, it does take away from the quality of what these guys and people bring to the stage.
And you can say they're all under the same light, it's the same for all of them, but it's still not. It's not. It still translates different for some people.
It does. I agree with that. And then when you take into consideration what these professional athletes have to do, besides being in a different country and learning language, getting their food prepped, having to do weeks of prep and research about where to go, where's the closest place, which place to book, they're then required to do things for the community. Meet and greet with athletes, attend meetings, go to seminars, show their faces. So you are also required to show yourself and present a happy social person.
When you might not be quite feeling that as well.
At all, or be stressed about something else. It's very different to amateur shows. And I would say the arrogance that some athletes have, thinking that it's a stage show and the world revolves around me, yet in the same breath saying you want to be a pro. It's like two different type of mentalities. Like a pro could never behave like that. They have to be aware of those requirements.
Yeah, a pro attitude across the board.
It has to. And then when you amalgamate that with family, how does that work for you? Because I know going with Echo was amazing. I mean, that's a big drive for me. Has always been with my kids, competing and setting that example, winning well and losing better. Like the way I approach my fellow athletes, and I've always used that as a really good way of, if my kids support me, to set that example. Yeah. So they've been a driving force for me. I don't do this because I want a great physique. I do this because I want to be the better version of myself as much as possible. And I would argue that having Echo with you this time round and having the family in Japan for the trip, was it different to your previous times competing?
Oh, look, it changes everything. For better and worse.
Yeah.
But, you know, you still, that's another aspect. And some people can't even look after themselves, or they have excuses of why they didn't meet this and why they didn't meet that. You know, you throw a kid or kids into the mix and it's a whole different ball game again. And I see a lot of pros, you know, whether it's for financial reason or they're fully invested in the comp, not take their kids and family and stuff like that.
Yep.
And look, don't get me wrong, like, I like being a pro athlete, but I have never had any disillusions apart from maybe the first 5 years of my career about making it to the Olympia.
Yep.
Like, you got to be real with yourself as well.
Yep.
But for me, and why I've kept going is, one, I enjoy the process, and I don't even enjoy the stage very much, but it's part of the process to finish the project and see what I've looked like or see what I've achieved, and then that's the base for the next improvement. But going back to having Echo and stuff there, you know, like I guess that goes hand in hand. I do it and I attach a holiday to it and things like that because that's fun. Like I compete in places that I want to visit and take the family along for the ride with me. I would find it very empty to just go and compete on my own. And bodybuilding for me has always been friends and family. Like I've always gone through my shows with my mates doing shows and stuff as well.
Yeah.
And then my wife Jane would compete at the same time, which was cool.
Yeah, she's a pro as well. And
She's
she's
a pro, yeah.
got her head on her shoulders. Also a really good eye. To me, like she's
And
like
the most disciplined person you ever meet.
Absolutely.
So I've just always been about sharing those experiences with people around me. It wasn't all for myself. And that's what's kept me going as well, because every experience is new and different. And my physique might improve a little bit, but it's just everything else I get out of it as well.
And for those couples out there that do compete together, that they're both on a similar journey. I know you and Jane have had a very similar journey. Hers seems to have like transcended a little bit more into the BJJ side of things now, which I absolutely love. I think that's awesome. And she's a machine. I'm not sure if I'm more nervous for you now. But tell me, has it changed much? Like, how do you guys manage that support? Because obviously being two people that have had similar goals and that have kind of shifted, have you hit any like difficult moments of when your prep is a little bit too demanding for the family or the family is a little bit too demanding for you at the time? And how do you guys navigate that?
Look, and we did preps where we prepped together and we prepped at different times. And to be honest, it was probably a little bit easier when you do it together.
Yeah.
Even though at the back end, you know, you might have to concentrate on yourself a little bit more, but having the immediate goals and both be on the same point with your nutrition and things like that was a little bit easier than one competing than the next.
Yeah.
Plus, you know, I know some people that have competed the last 2 years, and one of them will do this season and that season and the next one and the next one, and they just follow on from each other, and that's got to take its toll. Like you need a break from that.
Yeah, you would eventually.
Yeah, because shows around the whole year now. You know, so it's like she does season A, then he does season B, and they keep going, and you're like,
it does get exhausting.
Yeah.
I think one thing that you and Jane have always stood out for me as well is that you guys have both been individually biggest fans of one another. Like you support the BJJ, she supports your comps, and you both have this genuine drive of supporting each other in your respective goals.
And that's it. It's just a transition. So it doesn't matter what the goals are. You support them the same way as they're disciplined in the same way. So it doesn't matter if it's bodybuilding, a new business idea, new sport. We put in the same amount of effort we always have into it, and we support each other the same way.
And then if someone's doing something with focused on their personal goals, you don't make it necessarily about you. You understand that they're focused on what their goals are. It doesn't mean that they're neglecting you, and you're able to communicate that quite freely if you need something more from each other.
Yeah.
And does Jane still play a massive part with regard? I know she's always like your right-hand person when it comes to prep, and she's helped me heaps in my posing. All my routines that I've worked on, she's been able to bring out the best in me. So does she still play an active role in doing that type of things with you?
Not so much my routines and that. We'll touch on that in a second. But she cooks most of my food. She's always supportive. She puts me before herself, especially at the tail end of a prep and things like that. So yeah, she's always been my rock in that sense.
And you were telling me the one time she even adjusted your food because she could see that you needed adjusting.
Yeah, sure.
You were like, but this looks a bit smaller.
Yeah, well, why's my rice the last few days? Because she was helping me with my prep and she'd adjusted it, and
And she kept it
I didn't
on.
need to know because all I'm supposed to do was eat it.
And that was it. And you
Not
yours,
question
she was
it.
doing hers.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Posing, I'm definitely do as I say and not as I do.
Yep.
As I said before, I do enjoy the stage, but I don't at the same time. It's just an aspect I don't enjoy for myself. I love helping people pose and improving their posing and things like that, and watching fantastic routines. It's just the one aspect I don't enjoy much myself, and that's just being honest.
Yeah.
So over the years, unfortunately, I've learned to, unfortunately, I've learned to just, I can make it up a couple of weeks before or an hour before or whatever. You get, after 20 years experience, you know what your flow and how you want to move, and you just slow it down or speed it up.
Enough routines already to that
so it's not going to differ that much because you know what your strong points are, and you know how to move for you. So
And
generally,
your stage presence is already there.
exactly.
You're not
Look,
nervous.
hell, I should practice a lot more just for pose and fitness.
Yeah.
And things like that, but I don't. So it's the one thing I do neglect a little bit too much in prep. That's not an excuse. That's just being honest.
And I do notice myself. It's one thing I do enjoy personally.
Yeah.
Coming back from martial arts, we do kata and forms. I always enjoyed that. So it's my little kata or form that I get to. I prefer that to the judging.
Yeah.
You know, whether I won or lost, if I just got the opportunity to present my physique and walk off, I would have been happy with that. I do find that many people underestimate what it's like to pose. They don't really think, and which goes back to you with your calf on stage posing and just getting through that with the mindset. But then
you don't realize how much you flex your calf when you're doing all your other poses,
and how much you can get off balance just because your toes aren't right.
Yeah, and it was funny things like I couldn't even flex my core properly because to flex your core, I was engaging my calves and feet into the ground, and I couldn't pull my lower abs and stuff in because it would be locking down my calf and cause obviously a lot of pain and stuff like that. So it was just something else that you learn.
So again, you listen every challenge. But I also find the closer you get to the end of your prep, time's an issue. So you think, am I going to spend 10 minutes posing or 10 minutes doing something else? You always tend to go do something else because the posing doesn't tend to really get judged, so we think.
Yeah.
And that kind of perpetuates the issue too.
Yeah. And that's one thing I do with my athletes. So as we get closer and closer to the comp, a lot of the time, obviously, your cardio is increasing. So if you're going to do 45 minutes cardio, why not make that a minimum of 15 minutes posing?
Yeah, great.
Posing is harder than most cardio, or as hard as. Yeah. Essentially, you're flexing every bit of your whole body.
Yep.
I find the only thing is, and this is coming back to the word professional, even as an amateur, is athletes doing it properly for themselves or when they're on their own. So they'll be like, I did 15 minutes of posing, but their heart rate was at 90. Yes. And they're not holding stuff properly. They're not putting intensity into it. And I know this because I will pose with them a week later and they'll be gassed in gassed in one round.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, this fitness isn't getting any better. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I'm gassed after my quarter turns.
Yeah. But yes, because you're standing there, they'll put more effort in. But you can kill two birds with one stone by posing with intensity. Wear your watch. Check your watch. If your heart rate starts going down, next round, go again.
Yep.
But you should be able to do 3 rounds in a row anyway.
And
I always get people to build up. So even if each pose is a 5-second hold, next week it can be 6, and we build to 10 seconds. So, it might take 10, 15 minutes to, I don't know the maths on that, to do 3 rounds properly.
Amazing. Well, that's one thing that made a massive difference to me as well for stage was on the couple of days loading. You gave me the advice of after every meal to eat like 2/3 of my meal, do some posing, and then eat the rest, and then rest.
Yeah,
I guess pull it in. And I generally found that helped me get fuller.
Yeah.
So I think those little things come in handy. And obviously, if your condition's better for posing, the better the result would be. Now, I want to touch also on supplementation because they've had many supplements over the years and sponsorships, but you're currently with Gorilla X Labs. And I noticed that you were already using their products before you jumped on as an athlete. Why Gorilla X Labs?
They're just a great local Australian company, but, everything's greatly, all great ingredients and great formulations, not lacking on anything, like their pre-workouts. I don't use too much pre-workouts. Sorry, in a stimulated pre-workout.
Yep.
I'll just have half a scoop or something. 125 to 250 megs of caffeine usually is plenty for myself, but then I load up on pump products.
Yeah, I love their pump products.
And their pump products are great,
and the new flavors, they're my favorite. And I like the burn stuff purely because I use it instead of coffee, and I find that there's no crash. Obviously, when the owners approached me to try their products, I began using their products. Because I looked at the formulas.
Yeah, already using their cyclodextrin and
it's all in there, and then it's all like no fillers or real stabilizers. And I love their aminos because they have the So now you see everyone bringing in the electrolytes and stuff. So I can pretty much get everything I need from them. But one thing I really liked about Gorilla Labs is their holistic approach to it. They're not just a generic company. They seem to be focused on performance and the athletes, and they're constantly always coming back for more and more feedback.
Yeah.
And I love their flavors. But what's your favorite product of theirs?
Probably the pump product at the moment.
Those would be their favorite ones. What's your favorite flavor?
Well, we've just come out with the pineapple one, but
lime cordial.
Huh?
Lime cordial.
Well, I do like, as you might be able to see in the fridge here, we've got the lime cordial pump and stim, and the jungle juice as well. So I love it in the can, and it's carbonated, and I'm yet to try, but it arrives. It's just come out, and I get mine in the next couple of days. It's those two are now in the powdered form.
Oh, so, nice. That will make it so you can also adjust the quantities too if you need it.
Yeah. So
how do you go with the carbonated stuff?
They're only lightly carbonated, so I find if I'm drinking normal fizz, which I don't really, I might have the odd Coke Zero here or there, but I almost find them too carbonated, too fizzy. So the Gorilla drinks are, I think, is it 30%?
I've been able to actually inject that carbonate into my tube, so without getting too much discomfort, because any of the other ones just frost up and I'm just injecting gas.
Yeah.
But I do find that works well for me. I'm excited about their new protein range as well.
Yeah.
I've been using their WPI, WPC blend, but they've got all the hydrolyzed and the vegan stuff coming out now, which I'm pretty excited about.
Yeah, looking forward to that. As you know myself, I used to use 6 shakes a day back in the day. Yeah. Again, way too much, but that's what we did. More protein is better. Another funny story, but we used to eat 6 meals a day, have a shake between every meal, and sip on aminos all day. Again, just because we didn't know there was an upper limit. It was just more protein in, the better you'll grow faster. So we're probably having 600-700 grams of protein a day. Our meat meals would be like 300 cooked. Then a 50-gram shake every hour and a half, and but that's what we thought was the right thing to do at the time.
And now you pretty much use supplements exactly for that, right?
I only have 1 shake a day now. And the rest is whole food. And I'm a bit impartial to like using the vegan or an almond protein and things these days, which Gorilla do have coming out. They just sit better on my stomach these days. Yeah. It just changed with age and time. Yeah.
Yeah, I find the vegan protein sits better with me. But I do find that it sits for longer. So I don't really use it too much around training personally, but all my meals, because they're blended, I do tend to use it more powdered to get away with blending harder protein.
Yeah.
So, but the WPI, WPC blend works best for me around training. If you could go back and talk to the Logan that was starting off back working all these jobs and tell him one thing that you had to learn the hard way, what would that be?
Have more rest.
Have more rest, yeah.
Which we covered.
Which is insane, because most of us, if you had to tell any guy you need to rest more, they'd look at you like you're crazy.
I do so much that anytime I wasn't physically moving or working, I'd be asleep, just falling asleep left, right, and center. I'd go to the movies, fall asleep in the opening credits, things like that. And if you relate it to bodybuilding, I would have got much better results if I just rested more.
If you had rested
things more. Like that. There's even working in the gym, you just create this bad habit of Sundays I'm out of the gym. I'm here 6 days a week, so I might as well train 6 days a week. So
yeah, you just want to push more.
Where most of the times with my athletes and that these days and myself, I don't let them train more than 3 days in a row. Because if you're training hard and training, tearing down that muscle tissue and whatnot, then probably by day 4, especially if you're using pre-workouts and things, it might be simply to have give your central nervous system a rest and not have as much caffeine that day and give your body a break. If you think you can keep going for 5 days straight at 100% intensity, then you're probably not at 100% intensity.
Yeah, I have to agree. I used to do that quite a bit, and even the double sessions, 8 for it. But then it would get to a point where I would actually go to the gym and I would just call it active recovery session.
Yeah.
Mentally, I needed to be there, but I would literally do 1 set with the stretch and then move on to something else because I needed to be there. And that's I'm like, well, I've got injuries because of that.
Yeah. And that's another thing I implement with for my athletes is that day 4 might be an active recovery day. So
Nice.
you're still going to be in the gym because a lot of people want to be in the gym and keep the same schedule and eat around that schedule, and you can eat exactly the same. So you may that's when you may put your treatment in for that time. Or some of my guys will come in, they still might have cardio or steps that day, but they can also stretch, they can do core and ab work, and maybe even throw in some calves or something like that. So that's still a decent session. But you're not tearing down the system too much and hammering your body,
And talking about hammering your body, like that's the one thing that I use a lot of is the newbie machine. Do you want to explain to people quickly what it is?
Well, there's many aspects to it.
Yeah.
So the newbie machine can be used for recovery. It can be used for bringing up weaker muscle areas. It's big for injuries and rehab and overall hypertrophy and stuff as well. So what it's doing is basically helping you fire your muscle at 100%.
Yeah.
So and it rewires to fire that muscle more efficiently. So especially on weaker body parts, if you find it hard to connect with that muscle group, then the newbie is going to intensify that and help recruit more muscle fibers and hopefully switch it on for a better workout that day with the machine. Well, obviously that will happen, and then into the future as well. So it's essentially been rewired. I've
definitely found that after every session with the newbie, if I train back, my back sessions for at least the month after that, I seem to have better mind-muscle control. And in fact, I feel stronger as well.
Yeah.
But the DOMS hits a lot more. And I also found what we were talking about, the recovery, using the newbie machine, it hits your nervous system so hard that towards the end of that week, I feel completely shattered.
Yeah.
So there can be that thing about overuse again and just wrecking your body. But with the issue with my surgery, I also find there's things that I can do with the newbie that I can't do it without it.
Yeah.
But now because I've been using it, I'm getting to that ability where I can activate certain muscles that have been dormant for so many years because it's kind of like refired or reworking up those muscles. And I'd argue the benefits would also be for people that are mature age now that are having certain neurological issues like pinched back and the legs aren't growing or the nerves aren't feeding the muscle much. They will continue to feed the muscle and keep it active. If they're able to do any training. And if anybody just wants to have a go at that, they just contact you directly to book in?
Yeah, just contact me directly. Email or on Instagram or wherever, or even call the gym and they'll pass the message on.
Awesome.
But yeah, it's a hard one to explain because, as you know, it's a total different experience to anything you can try and tell someone.
You're not just sitting there with the electrodes firing, you're actually going through the movements. So your muscles being activated both externally and internally through your mind and as well as the machine itself.
So people just think it's just a big version of a TENS machine where it's actually wired on a total different current and it's a whole different philosophy behind it. Yeah, it's a one of a kind,
But like 100% of everyone I talk to, I always say you need to literally experience it so you understand the benefits. So you've been known for your authenticity, your realistic approach to, and I mean, one of the things is your reputation in the industry is how it's strong. You've set the example. So what do you think is required for a bodybuilder to leave a legacy like you have?
I don't know. I think you just covered a lot of words in there. Just
being authentic.
Being authentic, being real.
Because I think that's the biggest thing. It's like, obviously, we never see your trophies. We never see your accolades. Very rarely you'll share your wins. You tend to be very humble about that. So many people think winning a show is what creates the legacy. But I would argue it's the complete opposite. It's the amount of people that you've actually helped. I have to ask, you might not know off the top of your head, how many people have you turned pro?
I think Christelle and I tried to work it out the other day. There was something like 11 IFBB pros, 30-something WBFF or FMG pros, maybe more. I prep 50, 60 people a year for the last 15 years. What's that? 500-600 people to the
Easy.
stage.
Easy.
Yeah, more than that, yeah.
So, yeah, and you would argue that all these people that you've made pro, not only have you helped them achieve their goals on stage, but I would argue that you've helped them create a better relationship with their own personal journey because of the
Yeah.
example that you've set.
And that's what I get the biggest satisfaction out of. It's one thing to help someone on their journey to the stage and improve that way, but if it helps many other aspects of their life, albeit discipline to then apply to their business or help them with their relationship and things like that, or how to navigate through prep and their relationship, that's more satisfying than me than them winning a trophy.
Absolutely, and for them as well, because that will teach longevity, but there's also much more again, you could say, what's your purpose? If your purpose to compete and just become a pro or win a trophy, is that purpose enough?
No.
Not enough, eh? So what would you tell a client who first comes to you and said to you, I want to be a pro? That's what I'm doing.
Well, I'll put the question back on them and tell me what you think it is to be a pro.
Very good.
And I'll tell you that it won't be anything like what it actually is.
Like that. You'd have to find your why.
Because that's going to give me more followers. It's going to help me grow this part of the business, you know. None of that's enough to keep pushing you through it.
Very true. And one last thing before we finish, because I want to ask everybody, what's your biggest pet peeve in the industry?
Look, I've been in it for, over 20 years, and have seen it change. And, you know, every 5 years or so, like it was all PT and we did shows for ourselves and things like that. And every 5 years it seems to change. Obviously, the biggest change came in the last 5 years with social media and things like that. And from a comp prep perspective and coaching perspective, it's just that so many of the wrong people are getting accolades or getting work. And, you know, it's the industry's really turned into who's the best salesperson.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't think people are researching hard enough who the good coaches are and what people have done, and that they're just caught up in the glitz and glamour and things like that. And that's why people doing shows don't know what it really entails to do a show. They're like, this person was smiling all the way through, and this happened, and this happened, and then half those people then do a show and they don't even enjoy it, and they hate bodybuilding after.
It just kills the whole thing.
Yeah.
And they damage their body quite severely with the wrong coach just because they've got X amount of followers and so many likes and so many tweets. I find that that's the one thing that I find is people don't really understand the personal risk involved when they decide to take on bodybuilding and compete. There's a big risk to your health. And I've always personally on the back end, I've known you for many years, and again, I would argue that your social media representation is often not as good as people that are out there constantly on social media. But that's because you're out there actually doing the difference, making the difference, out there in the trenches with people. And recently we follow a group of boys that, in my opinion, are really driven, have great physiques, but they're a little bit on the ego side. And they were the biggest teens in Australia, or whatever it is, and great physiques, these boys. It wasn't until recently I saw one of them, well, I didn't see him, Kai sent me a picture, and he tagged you in one of his meals. And I was like, oh, great, now he's finally doing something right. Because he's sourcing somebody now where he can take, because he's decided to make this, I'm really serious about this. And we're going to find someone with substance. Mm-hmm. And for me, that's the biggest pet peeve I have, is that there's coaches out there looking for clients just to make themselves famous, as opposed to understanding that as a coach, there is a responsibility that you take on when you bring on a client that's trusting you with their health. So for me, this is why I've worked with you for so many years. And if anybody wanted to get hold of you, just hit you up on Instagram.
Yeah, hit me up on Instagram or email at coaching@gmail.com.
And then they'll book in and send up the information that they need, and you'll be able to get in touch with them.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
All right, fantastic, guys. Well, we've had this episode. We haven't just spoken about bodybuilding and training and everything else. We've spoken more a little bit about resilience and what it takes to make it in the sport, as well as making sure that while you are training, your life is growing outside of the gym. If you find or think that you know anyone who can get something out of this episode, please share it with them. And be free to hit Logan up at Logan Robson, IFBB Pro on Instagram. And if you guys do want to get some Gorilla Rex stuff, you can always use his code Logan15 and get your order there for 15% off. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it.
Pleasure.